Right. Thank you, and welcome everyone to this 40th Academy about the blueprints. Uh, this is a relatively straightforward feature, so I think we should be able to do this within half an hour. At the end of today, I will have a very short introduction because there's not much theory to explain about these blueprints. Most of it will be a demo. There will be a short recap on the major points of those demos, and then we'll explain how we will roll out this feature and what the future developments of this feature are going to be. And as always, we'll have some time for questions. So, introduction. What are the blueprints? The blueprints are a quick way to create surveys with standard features. Because of the automatic deletion of surveys, which we talked about in the previous Academy, we wanted a feature like this because we realized that a lot of people were leaving surveys in a under construction state as an example for how to create other surveys. And that's no longer possible, so that is why we stepped up the blueprint feature. Currently, the only thing that you can configure in the blueprints are the quota, because that is by far the most often used case. If people leave surveys in under construction state, that is because they have a complicated quota frame that they want as a model, or then use that under construction survey as to copy that to a new survey. So the blueprint feature should make that all possible now. So without further ado, let's actually look what this entails, because showing it will make very clear how this works, clearer than any talking by me. So let's go to my production domain. The entire feature is now in production, so I can use my production domain, and let's first log in as a DA, not as a regular user. Oops. So there are two ways you can create blueprints. Let's start with the way to create blueprints from scratch. Let's then take a look at how to use those blueprints, and then we'll end with the second way that you can create a blueprint. Well, let's start with creating a blueprint from scratch. As you can see here in the survey list, I now have a new option which is called blueprints. If I click on that, it will get me a list of the current blueprints that I have already created on this domain. Let's simply create a new one. So I click here on create blueprint. I need to give it a name. So this will be test Wednesday. I can choose a survey group, more on that later, and I need to choose a channel, online KP, or in my instance KT, because I also have a KT license on this domain. They all use a different type of quota. So to create a KP quota, you need to choose for KP. We will now create only online quotas for this demo. So I choose online, click create, and I am immediately in the quota section. There is a general section. This will not be copied to any new demo, to any new feature. This general section is basically to describe this one blueprint. I will leave it empty now for now. So quota is the one thing that we have enabled for those blueprints. So I can create a quota here. The same way I can create them everywhere else. So let's very quickly do this. So I could go on, but yeah, sure you know how to create a quota frame. All features for creating quota frames are available, so I can order this quota, or I can, in the advanced setup, tick some of those cells off. I will leave them all for now. And last up, I can define targets. I can also skip this step. I don't have to define those targets. If I do this, those targets will also be copied to the new survey. So to the newly created surface, to the surface created using this blueprint. So I will very quickly create those targets, save it, and that's it. We now go back to blueprints. We have our newly created blueprint. Now, how to use this blueprint? Let's go back to the survey list. And to use that blueprint, we simply click Create Survey. And I can now choose to either create a new survey, a blank survey, or create it from blueprint. So I click from blueprint. It needs to have a name. So this will be the test Wednesday survey. I need to choose the blueprint that I want to use to create a survey. That would be the test Wednesday. Click create. And I have created this survey, and I go to quota. You will see it has copied the quota frame from the blueprint, including all the targets. So that is pretty straightforward how to create those quota frames, how to create those blueprints, and how to use them. As already mentioned, if you go to blueprints and you create a blueprint, let's create one more test Wednesday NIPO, you can see that I can choose a survey group. I have two survey groups on my domain, which is either NIPO or Kantar. I will choose NIPO and create this particular blueprint for NIPO only. Very quickly give it a very simple quota frame. And that means that this blueprint is available for either any DA or for those people that belong to the NIPO group. Now, let's see what that means. If I go to access and try to locate a user that only has access to the NIPO group, that survey that is a user, which is also called NIPO by itself. So let's sign out and let's connect using the NIPO group. And now this user, when creating a survey, should then only see those surveys. If I choose from blueprint, only see those blueprints which actually belong to the NIPO group, which are 3 at this moment, including the one we just created. So you can also use the group functionality for this group. If you are more curious how this group functionality functions, there is an entire academy where we explain how this group function works. I just wanted to point out here, this also works for groups. One other thing about this particular user, NIPO, it's also not a DA, it's a regular user. And that means that this user cannot create a blueprint. Blueprints can only be created by DAs. So this regular user cannot create a blueprint. This regular user can open existing blueprints, and this regular user can edit those blueprints. As long as the user has the right to edit a quota frame, that user can also edit the quota frame of blueprints. So that's survey groups. Then let's go to the second way of how to create the second method to create blueprints. I need to sign out again because this is a regular user, as stated here, and a regular user cannot create blueprints. So I need to sign in as a DA again to show you the second way. And the second way, if I choose a survey with a quota, so let's choose this one, quota with a 3-layer target. If I go to the setup, and you see here, this has a reasonable complicated quota. I can also, from this survey, decide to save this survey, make a copy from this survey as a blueprint. I do that using going to the fieldwork options, and there in the advanced options, I can save this as blueprint. And 2 options, create new or update existing. I will show you shortly what an update existing does. Let's first create a new one. So this was the test copy Wednesday, and I can choose save it as blueprint. And I'm now actually back in the blueprints, and I have created this as a blueprint now. I can make some edits here if I wanted to, or change the targets if I wanted to. I'm fine with this. And if I go back to the blueprint, you will see we have this newly created blueprint. Now, you could also use this function, save an existing survey as blueprint, very quickly to copy a blueprint that would simply be open this one, go to setup, save it as blueprint, and then use that blueprint to create a new survey. This is a very short way to copy existing blueprint, to copy a existing quota frame to a new survey. If you do that, I would advise you, like I have done, to choose update existing and have one of those surveys here that you always use to copy a quota frame. If that is all you want, I have called that Control-C, Control-V, that one blueprint. And you choose for update existing, and this will actually replace the quota frame that is there with this new quota frame. So I choose update existing. And as you can see, it has copied this quota frame. And I can then use this quota frame back to the list, survey, create survey, and then from blueprint, copy quota, I will call it, and then use the Control-C, Control-V, create. And we'll have that quota frame. So that is a quick way to copy a quota frame from a survey to a new survey. One of the reasons to make one survey that you always use for that copy and paste action is because we have maximized the number of blueprints that you can use. You can have a maximum 50 blueprints. So, okay. I think that's it. Yeah. So let's go back to the demo, to the presentation. So the recap. Blueprints can only be created by a DA user, as said. Blueprint can be created from scratch. I demoed that. Blueprints can be created based on a survey, which I also demoed. When it comes to using blueprints, there are no specific blueprint roles. So anyone that can create a survey can also create a survey from a blueprint. If you have the right to edit a quota frame, you can also edit that quota frame in the blueprint. Group rules apply as I demoed. As already said, there's a max of 50 blueprints. The rollout of this feature. If you like what you saw, you can contact the help desk to ask for access to the feature, and we will turn this feature on your for your domain. We will probably also choose a few domains where we will turn this on anyway. But we are rolling this out slowly. It is, as I said, available as of today in production. The feature will be fine-tuned using your feedback. As you can see, the survey rules are quite broad at this moment. We are thinking if it is a good idea if only the DA can create the surveys. You might have other ideas about that. Would like to hear them so we can fine-tune this feature on your IDs. Any questions?
Yes, there are a couple of questions, Frank. First one is somebody asks if the fieldwork settings and survey image files also are added to the blueprint.
Not at this moment. That is one of the things that said we will fine-tune this feature in the next quarter. And one of the things is, okay, what else should we add to this blueprint? Right now, we'll start with quota. But based on feedback, we will add more features to that blueprint, whatever makes sense.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, somebody asked if blueprint is dependent on logging in via normal login or single sign-on. That has no impact,
No,
right?
No, it has no impact. It's no. It has to be turned on your domain, and from that moment, that feature is available on your domain.
Okay, there are more questions coming in. Can a regular user edit and delete any blueprint in the Nfield Manager?
A regular user can edit any blueprint as long as he has the right to edit quota frames, and as long as that blueprint belongs to a group he has access to. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, a comment that somebody says it needs to be allow regular users to do this. That's also something that we had discussed before.
Yeah.
And there's a question about quotas. Most quotas are unique to the study. Without a Q file, it might not be relevant. Will we be able to have the Q file in the blueprint as well?
As said, we can edit anything to the blueprint that we would deem useful. So yes, it would be able to do that. On the other hand, if all your quota frames are unique, what would be the use of a blueprint anymore? Because then you can just as well set it up once for your survey.
Okay. And the last question, it would be great if it can be exported, imported to other domains. I think we are walking into the API.
Yeah, that is possible. That is possible using the API. Yeah. If you use the API, you can download a quota frame, and that will be exactly in the same format as you need to upload it to another domain. So.
Yeah, these are all the questions, Frank.
Okay, then final remarks. As always, recordings of this session will be available later this week. The manuals are already updated. As already said, feature will be live on request. If you want to use this feature, contact your help desk and it will be turned on. The API calls. We have one new API call, which is the survey create survey from blueprint call. This assets will create a survey from blueprint, or it either will create a blueprint based on the survey, depending on what you are using. And all relevant calls have an is blueprint Boolean added. So for instance, the survey, if you call for details on a survey, there will be an is blueprint boolean, and if that is true, that survey is a blueprint. If you create a survey and you turn the is blueprint boolean to true, that will create a blueprint. Next Academy will be the Academy about the new sample manual that will probably be in July. Any last questions?
Yes. Well, an interesting question came in. It's good to discuss that, I think.
Okay.
Wouldn't it be easier to have a duplicate survey function instead? Then you can copy a survey and alter what needs to be altered.
Yeah, but this is the feature that we chose, because if you choose a duplicate, then you also need to choose what you want to copy. So you cannot just copy all the sample, etc., etc. We more thought along the way. What we want to have is some sort of default. So a model survey that you create, that you use over and over again.
Yeah, and isn't it exactly because of the automatic cleanup feature that surveys will not be there in the Nfield manager for always?
Yes.
So you will need a blueprint, right?
Yes, that's a good point too. Yeah, because all surveys are automatically deleted after 60 days of inactivity. Yes, you are. Yeah.
So this is your.
You need something else that will actually can be used as a model survey, and a blueprint is that. Yes, thank you. That's.
Yeah, that was it, Frank.
Okay, then we are indeed done within half an hour. Thank you. Talk to you next time. Bye bye.
Thank you all. Bye bye.